Hi everyone, welcome to Ross the Runner channel. Today we'll be diving into my top 10 tips for running the world famous London Marathon. Whether you're a first timer or a seasoned runner, my top 10 tips will help you ace London's most celebrated race. Before we start, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to keep up to date with all my running content. Now let's not wait any further as we run down my top 10 tips for running the London Marathon, and you're going to want to stay for all 10. Number 1, understand the course. As one of the 6 Abbott World Marathon majors, the London Marathon hasn't really seen much change since 1981. Whilst there is a gradual incline around mile 23, managing the declines is going to be key for the London Marathon. You'll find some declines in the first 2, 3, 4 miles, so this is really important. You may have the temptation to really open up your stride length on those declines, but remember, try and hold yourself back and look after those quads. Look after yourself on the declines, try not to chase that runner's high, and don't forget that as the course overall, it's only about a 400-foot elevation for the whole race, so it's a pretty flat course. The London Marathon is a uniquely supported event. It's also full of amazing landmarks all the way across the course. But remember, the whole course doesn't have screaming crowds like you'll find on the entrance and exit of Tower Bridge and passing down the Mall. There are sections, such as when you're heading round the Isle of Dogs, where the crowd support is a little bit thinner and crowd noise is a little bit less. So you may well want to use your music and, like me, your podcasts at that period of time. Some people find the extra cheering a bit wearing and they may want to block it out. Not me, I absolutely really enjoy it and it gives me that extra boost all the way around. That said, in terms of iconic landmarks, London has so many. Whether that's Cutty Sark, Tower Bridge, Big Ben, Canary Wharf, the Mall, or even Buckingham Palace to name a few. Knowing where they are, as well as the water and energy gel stations, it's advised to help plan your race. The final stretch is particularly special at the London Marathon. As you head towards Elizabeth Tower and Big Ben, don't be lulled into thinking that that's the finish line. You still have St James's Park, Buckingham Palace and onto the Mall for that final boost, and then you'll head over the finish line for those celebrations. Also to be aware of, Blackfriars Bridge. You'll see lots and lots of discarded water bottles under there, as well as probably quite a few runners being caught short having a wee on the side of the road, just to bear in mind. Remember, it's a huge field, so you're probably going to be crammed in a little bit and penned in with other runners at the start. You might feel a bit cramped. Don't be too anxious about your pace. You'll get there. You don't want to be expending too much energy dodging and ducking and weaving around others. Number 2, be prepared for noise. Now this sounds pretty obvious, but I think with London, there's definitely a few areas where the noise level is absolutely off the decibel chart. The noise on this course was unlike anything I'd experienced before, and whilst it gave me an initial buzz, it can be quite overwhelming for quite a lot of other people. Nothing can ever quite prepare you for the wall of noise that you're going to get as you run towards Tower Bridge. It's absolutely deafening. It gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. The crowds really are intense here, so soak it up and savour it and just enjoy the moment as well. So keep running your race, let them lift you up, but don't overdo it. Number 3, nailing your race day logistics. Planning is absolutely key. Unlike other marathon majors like Berlin and Chicago, London start and finish lines at completely different areas of the city. So it's really important to know exactly where you're going for the start line and for your family and spectators to know exactly where to pick you up at the finish line. There are also multiple start lines, so make sure you know which area that you need to go to. Arriving early will help reduce your stress levels, but it's also worth making sure your friends and family know where to pick you up from at Horse Guards Parade. Public transport for Transport for London and South Eastern trains are free for race runners, so make sure that you're wearing your bib number. Check your start time and your start zone, because that's going to have a significant impact on your morning route plan. There are 4 start zones: red, blue, yellow and green. Depending which one you are, will have an impact on what station you want to get out on. And remember, the start actually isn't necessarily the start of your race. Sometimes it can take up to 40 minutes from hearing of the firing gun to actually crossing over the start line, because there's just so many people to walk on through. So make sure you're in the right pen, you're relaxed, and you keep warm. If you're unfamiliar with the City of London and you're not sure on what trains to take to get to your start line, there's some really good tube apps that you can download which will help plot your journey for you. Even for someone like me who travels to London fairly regularly, I found it really helpful to get to my start line, but not just the start line, also the expo at the Pexel Arena where you can have your bib pickup. Number 4, download the official race app. The London Marathon is an extremely well organised event, and that extends to their free app, which can be downloaded on the App Store in advance. This is the best way to find out your official time and all of your splits, and is a great way to check on your progress of your friends who also might be running the race. Your supporters can track you on the race to optimise catching up with you at different parts of the course, and you yourself, you can follow maybe some celebrity runners and maybe compare yourself to them too. It's also an essential tool for your family and supporters to track you around the course so that they can best prepare you for your upcoming arrival. Number 5, sightseeing. London is a fantastic city that has so much to offer both during the day and at night. I always recommend being as economical with your steps and your energy as much as you can before race day. I recently changed my running trip policy to have more of my sightseeing after the race day, or even just a little bit before, rather than too much before race day. You want to save on those steps. Having some activities booked after race day is a really good way at reducing any residual muscle tightness, as well as flushing your muscles of that lactic acid. London has an abundance of hop-on and hop-off buses to save your footsteps, and it is a great way to see the city and to get to some of your favourite locations like the Natural History Museum and the Science Museum, as well as Trafalgar Square, Oxford Street, Westminster Abbey and many, many more. London is famous for its theatres and entertainment industry, so if you're in town for a few days, see what's on at one of the many theatres around Covent Garden or the Royal Albert Hall. Why not head over to the London Eye, as this gives a really nice view of the city centre and you can spot some of the areas you'll be running through and retrace your marathon adventure. Even though I live about 2 hours from London, I still love being a tourist for the day, as there is so much to do in this amazing city. It never gets old. So make sure you do a bit of research beforehand about what places you want to visit whilst you're in the city and how you're going to navigate London. Number 6, optimising supporter locations. In my opinion, London is unrivaled from its enthusiasm from the streets. There may be other majors where the noise is consistently louder for the whole 26 miles, but with London there's definitely a few locations where the decibel level is louder than anywhere else. London boasts over 1 million people lining the streets, and not only that, along the way there's loads of dance troupes, music bands, as well as charity supporter zones that it's really hard not to keep going. Personal favourites for me are the bagpipe players, but also the many drumming bands as well. That rhythmic beat really gives you that extra boost to keep on going. It helps to have some familiar faces in the crowd for that mental and emotional support. And don't forget to enjoy the passionate support from all the other spectators. Having looked at the course map before and doing a spot of sightseeing pre-race, you'll be able to be in a good position to mark out where's best for your family and friends to spot you during the race. Having run the London Marathon 3 times so far, there's a really good spot between Narrow Street and the 20-mile marker. So that's 2 good spots for your friends and family to see you, and a relatively short walk for them between them. But as the name suggests, Narrow Street is quite narrow. There's not much space for spectators, so prepare them to be a little bit cramped at that spot. A personal little extra tip for me, get your name emblazoned on your shirt, whether that's written on or ironed on. People will call out your name, people that you don't know, and it will really give you that extra little bit of boost. I found it really helpful. In fact, the last time that I ran it, just by chance, there was actually another guy called Ross next to me, so we got loads of attention. Every time I heard my name, I'd give them a little virtual fist bump for recognition. Of course, if you don't know where your family are going to be, then lots of people calling your name, that might be a bit confusing. So it's not for everybody. Personally, it works for me, but as I say, it might not work for everybody. You might just want to zone out. Number 7, be prepared for all weather. Unfortunately, London Marathon is in April, and one thing we can guarantee in the UK is that we can't guarantee good weather. I've ran in both the hottest and the coldest London marathons on record, and they were both challenging for different reasons. So it's best to check the weather forecast before race day. The race organisers do send out alerts, usually in the days before, so that can be really helpful too. Like many of the other marathon majors with the big fields, you may well notice lots of discarded clothes at the start line. So if you do have some clothing that you don't mind not seeing again, it might be worth having that extra layer to dispose of at the start line to keep yourself nice and warm. So as London is in April and the weather can be unpredictable, it's important to train in the same settings as what you're going to find on race day. That goes for your race gear as well. Unfortunately, things can go a bit haywire, like in 2018, the hottest London Marathon on record. I was training in sort of freezing conditions in the winter block before, so if that happens to you, it's really important that you adjust your race strategy as much as you can. Many runners didn't in 2018, and I believe that on record it was the most amount of DNFs and actually hospitalisations that they've had on record. Another preparedness tip comes in the form of the Portaloo queues. If you need to use them on the course, be prepared to wait a little bit. The toilet stations are every 2 miles, so if when you're waiting for the race to start you have a bit of stage fright or Mother Nature calls on the race, a toilet break option is always there for you. Number 8, visualization techniques. 26.2 miles is pretty daunting, and let's face it, for most of us, it's a pretty long way. The mental aspect is just as important as the physical aspect when completing any marathon. So it's really important that you prepare yourself for challenging moments. Find ways and develop strategies to help guide yourself through the race and stay motivated. By studying the landmarks of London and where they are on the route, you'll be able to mentally tick them off and celebrate passing through each one whilst you're running. Another nice technique that I've seen online is dedicating each mile to someone that you love or who has inspired you. It will help you take your mind off that mile and keep you focused for running for someone other than yourself. You'll probably be a blubbering mess, but rest assured you won't be the only one. I certainly was on my first London Marathon. It came 3 months after my father passing away, and the thought of him really kept me going through the whole race. So keep those who inspire you in your mind when you're running the marathon, and you will not fail to achieve your goals. Remember why you're running and stay focused on these reasons. And don't be worried if a guy twice your age flashes past you on the mile, or a lady bouncing 2 basketballs overtakes you on Tower Bridge. Those things definitely didn't happen to me. And remember, you've done the hard work, so if you're in lots of pain, just smile. It uses much less energy than frowning or crying. Number 9, save your music. Music can be an amazing motivator, but only use it when you need it. The start of the marathon is exciting. The first chunk of miles, they fly by, so enjoy it and relax into the marathon. Personally, I like to run the marathon without headphones in to start with, so I can really soak up the atmosphere and listen to the spectators. Or occasionally I'll listen to something a bit more mundane, like a general podcast, just so I don't get overhyped and get carried away with a silly pace to start with. If you are going to use music towards the start of the race, pick something with a slightly slower tempo, something that fits with your race pace. Turn on your epic, inspirational music towards the end of the race when you need it most. And if you start to tire and you need some inspiration or a boost, crack out the big hitters on your music. That's when you might need it most. Then I'll switch to the power playlist at the end of the race. There are plenty of natural highs and boosts on this course without music all the way round. But saying that, do what's right for you. And finally, number 10, enjoy that finishing stretch and celebrate. The London Marathon has one of the most iconic finishing sequence of all the marathon majors. You'll pass the London Eye, Big Ben and Buckingham Palace and onto the Mall. The finish line is just round the corner and you're running down the Mall. It's really truly going to happen. By now, everything is probably hurting and your body's probably begging you to stop. But don't. That last little bit, just power through and get that final race day photo. Show that medal to everybody and everyone. Bore them senseless and shamelessly. Join in watching others struggle walking down the stairs at the nearest underground station, probably like you are as well. Lastly, enjoy the experience. The London Marathon is a hard race to get into. It's a unique event with a wonderful atmosphere. Take in the sights, the sounds, and the energy. Whatever your time, completing the London Marathon is a huge achievement. And remember, pain is temporary, but quitting, that'll last with you forever. And there we have it. They're my top 10 tips for smashing the London Marathon. Whether it's your first or your 100th race, I hope you found them helpful to getting a successful and a happy London Marathon. I hope you make the most of your time in this amazing city, and good luck to all the runners that are running this year's London Marathon. Let me know in the comments below if I missed any out, and I'd love to know your experiences of the marathon this year. If you found the tips helpful, give it a like and a share, spread the word of the channel, I greatly appreciate it. I hope to see you here next time on the Roster Runner channel, so hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to keep up to date with all my latest running content. Until next time, happy running.